Thank you. Distinguished venerables, scholars, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be here, and it's a deep honor to be able to share and speak on this theme. Many of you will be very familiar with the way in which the Lord Buddha likened knowledge to all the leaves in a forest, and his teaching to just a few leaves in his hand. I am a layman of Christian heritage who has benefited from the handful of leaves, and I would like to begin with a homage to the Lord Buddha. Namo Tatsa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tatsa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Invoking the Pali language of ancient India naturally reminds us that Buddhist meditation arose in an Indic cultural and religious context. Of course, it evolved and spread across Asia, and it was transmitted into the West through multiple pathways. Others are much better qualified to analyze how these multiple interactions have happened and unfolded with the religious and the philosophical schools of the West. I have just one framing observation, that the spiritual practices of the Eastern traditions have become popular in the West at a time when we can speak of post-Christian culture, at the time when the West has seen a drastic decline in its own religious practice and the rise of secularization. So in the West, meditation is naturally packaged as a purely utilitarian technique, very valuable, but devoid of any cultural and religious association. And at the other end of the spectrum, Westerners who see the benefits of meditation can in fact wholeheartedly embrace and take up all the associations and become Buddhists and Hindus themselves. The third pathway is the way in which Buddhist meditation has found a resonance within the cultural streams that have shaped what the West is in its culture. In 1994, His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave a series of lectures on the Christian Gospels in London. This was hosted by the World Community for Christian Meditation, founded by a Benedictine monk. And at the outset, His Holiness the Dalai Lama noted that the most effective interreligious dialogue is not intellectual exchange so much as the sharing of practice between sincere practitioners. And this is essentially the approach I'm taking with this paper. It's experiential and subjective. So my own interest in Buddhism started when I was 9 years old. My father had returned from India, where he'd met two Buddhist monks, one from Laos and one from the United States, and they were visiting the holy Buddhist sites of India. He spent time with them, and he learnt the practice of anapanasati, awareness of breathing, which he practiced before his daily morning Christian devotions for the rest of his life. And at the age of 9, I noticed that it started to transform him. He became more self-aware. He became less over-engaged. You know, some Christians can be quite engaged with how much good they're doing. He became less prone to frustration. And I was struck by his fresh insights and excitement about discovering impermanence and non-attachment in this realm. So much so that I remember being asked at school what I want to do when I grow up, and I said, Buddhist monk. 20 years later, in 1993, my father and I were invited to Cambodia by Cambodia returning diaspora to make films in the Khmer language to foster cultural and spiritual renewal after genocide and war. And the two films that we made were rooted in Buddhist culture and spirituality. On our return, we were challenged to make a film on Christian encounter with Buddhism. And our research led us to Mother Rosemary of the Sisters of the Love of God, a contemplative nun in an enclosed Anglican order in Oxford. Enclosed means once she's taken the vows to become a nun, that's it for the rest of her life, and she never leaves the convent. The other one is Father François Ponchot from the Mission Étrangère de Paris, so a missionary Catholic priest based in Cambodia. And they became the key voices in a film called The Cross and the Bodhi Tree, Two Christian Encounters with Buddhism. Now, the Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue at the Vatican saw the film and described it as Christians encountering Buddhism positively and making sense of it. Central to the message of the film are the ways in which Mother Rosemary and Father Ponchot practice Buddhist meditation. So we'll see now, Nira? Yeah, thank you. Some excerpts from the film. So Mother Rosemary, she spent a 2-month sabbatical at a Buddhist monastery in England in the tradition of the forest monastic tradition of Thailand in the school of Ajahn Chah. So it's the, yes, yeah.
Christianity and Buddhism share the vocation of monasticism, in which individuals free themselves from the affairs of the world in order to concentrate on the spiritual life. In 1991, Mother Rosemary requested permission from her superior to spend a 2-month sabbatical at Amaravati Buddhist Monastery in Hertfordshire, England. This permission was granted. Amaravati was founded by Western-born Buddhists trained in the forest monasteries of northeast Thailand.
I went with a particular intention of learning about meditation, and alongside that I hoped that I would find ways in which I could persevere in prayer when prayer seemed to go dead. After all, I'm committed to this way of life for life. I know from experience that there are going to be ups and downs, but it's going to be important to be able to continue to have that stability. And so one of the very significant things I learned was not only a posture in which to remain when I wanted to flee, but also ways of enabling my mind and heart to stay when they were going off in all directions. And of course that extends beyond the time set apart for prayer or meditation. It extends also to staying with the difficult situations in community life, which are just the same in Christian monasteries as they are in Buddhist monasteries, people living together. How to get some sort of perspective on that? To realize that our worries, our anxieties, which fill the whole mind when they're uppermost, maybe needn't have the hold over us that we often allow them to have. And if one can get a little bit of distance, a little bit of detachment from what seems to be all-consuming and to be devouring, that can lead to greater serenity, just more ability to cope.
So I'd like to expand on 3 aspects of Mother Rosemary's experience practicing Buddhist meditation. She speaks of learning a posture in which to remain And in the film you've seen Christian nuns, they're sitting in the lotus position in their chapel. Now in Christian devotion you can kneel, you can even prostrate yourself, but the Indic traditions pay a lot more attention to the mind-body continuum in spiritual practice. So the posture of the straight back, as we were hearing in some of our meditation exercises here, how to hold the head, the awareness of the breathing. These, of course, are actively taught as practices which can enhance spiritual focus and which Mother Rosemary practices and shares. She practices when prayer for her seemed to go dead. And she goes further. She speaks of a continuum between staying in meditation rather than fleeing from discomfort, and staying with the difficult situations in community life rather than being driven by reacting to the discomfort caused by other people. So Mother Rosemary is becoming both more self-aware, more accepting, and more loving of others through her practice of meditation. Many of you will know one of the most important passages in the New Testament of the Holy Bible is this. And one of the scribes came and asked him, "Which is the first commandment of all?" And Jesus answered him, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these." Jesus Christ also taught, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." In the context of these absolutely foundational, key Christian teachings on love, the significance of the fact that Father François Ponchot finds that it's metta bhavana, it's loving kindness meditation, which for him frees him to love others. So that's the next excerpt from the film, which we can see.
Also, and this happens to me as it happens to everyone, I can hate people. I'm far from being a saint. In fact, I feel more and more of a sinner. But it's the Buddhist who says, okay, I will send good wishes to the people I like most, and then, during the next half hour, I will send good wishes to the people I like less, then to the people I don't like, and finally to the people I hate. Well, little by little, your outlook changes. This is a very simple method, and one which Buddhists have taught me. And they transform me. They transform my heart a little. You also learn to see things in context. We are so impatient, us Westerners. Patience. What is most important?
With the time, I'll just say that, Christian meditation, or the strand of meditation in Christianity has had different forms and phases through the medieval, Renaissance, and modern periods. And we've heard one of the most vivid examples from Christopher of its practice, the practice of silence in a group. while Christian meditation tends to revolve around the practitioner's relationship with God, Buddhist meditation has an emphasis on achieving non-attachment and liberation from suffering. So I think we can have the final excerpt, which will probably end when the bell goes, leaving us...
Do you see a difference between meditation and prayer?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you see a difference between meditation and prayer? Or do you see meditation as a type of prayer?
I like very much that way of putting it. I think it is a type of prayer. Surely there are kinds of prayer which are not encompassed by meditation, as I guess there are kinds of meditation which are not, couldn't be included in prayer. But there's a great area of overlap. And that's not surprising, because human beings, just as they have the same physical structure, seem to have the same inner structure, mode of being. And both for prayer and for meditation, when the person is trying to do the truth, then you're up against something which is very basic and very simple. You're just there in what is there. When I come before God, my intention is the same, whether I'm praying or meditating. And the hindrances are the same. And the opportunity, the grace, the openness, the light that comes in, the taste and flavour of it is the same.
But don't you think that Buddhist meditation is more passive than Christian prayer?
I think that it's for the Christian, we recognise that prayer is a journey and there are different stages. And certainly there comes a stage, and it's the birthright of every Christian, in which receptivity, passivity, is the hallmark of one's relationship with God, in which God is the doer, God is the one who prays, God is the one who bestows fullness of life, and our part is willing receptivity.
So just to conclude, I think in the context of the decline of formal Christian practice in the West, I think it could be argued that we could even say that Christianity owes a debt of thanks to the Indic traditions, not only for what they offer in and of themselves, but for sparking renewed interest in Christianity's own meditative practices. In the end, whether it's Buddhist meditation or Christian practice, these are just labels for lived experience. We are conscious beings cast into existence. We can label the existence, we can react to it, we can get wholly caught up in it. But when we get sufficient perspective on it, we see it as a mystery. We're just there in what is there, as Mother Rosemary puts it. We're just here in what is here. Thank you so much.